Hello, AP Computer Science Principal students. Let's prepare for the free response questions on the AP exam. As a reminder, this create performance task is worth a total of 6 points. You've already locked in your video and you submitted your program code. So these points are already done. You either have them or you don't. We're going to focus on the written response. You'll see the day of the exam that you have an hour to answer. I want you to keep this in mind as we talk about the written response portion. Your graders are AP Computer Science principals teachers. They want clarity. They're not looking for lots of metaphors, simile, anything. They want it very clear as you answer these questions. And one way to do that, you'll see that I suggest, is that you make a point to restate the question and then kind of fill in the blank. And the goal here in this written response, right, is to prove you understand your code and the vocabulary that they ask about as it relates to your code. Let's travel to the document we're working through. This video is about question 1, which is questions about your program that they saw in the video. So it does not relate to your PPR. You're not going to be referencing anything. As a reminder, the default one I'm going to highlight is this serial project that I have here. Let me restart so you can see how this program works, because we're going to have to talk about what this program does when it runs. So I press the start button, I press randomize, randomize, randomize. Okay, that's what the program does. It randomly displays another serial image and the title of the serial name. So here's examples of what were asked last year for question 1. And there's 2 listed here because there's actually 2 sets of questions that will be happening at the same time, 2 versions. And so if you got the first version, this is the question you were answering for 1. Identify an example output of your program. Explain how this output shows an aspect of your program's functionality. So let's go through. Identify an example output of your program. An example output of my program. And that's how we're going to start it. And we have explain how this output shows an aspect of your program's functionality. This output shows an aspect of my program's functionality by, okay? So that's what I mean by like just restate what they ask and then be prepared to fill it in. It does not have to be in paragraph form. You know, spaces like this are fine. It's kind of technical language you're using. So an example output of my program. So the example output is the changing screen that shows a new image and new text. Is the changing screen that displays a new serial name and picture. I'm not going to say with the button press because that's like the input. I want to focus on the output. An example output of my program is the changing screen that displays a new serial image and picture. That displays a new, let's say, a random. Okay, this output shows an aspect of my program's functionality by showing how the screen changes when the button is pressed. Each press displays a random image and text of serial. This is not exactly what you need. Like there's not one phrasing, but I so want to stress an example output of my program is, let me highlight that. And this output shows an aspect of my program's functionality. How does it display what your program does? If you had the second version, you, instead of describing output, would be talking about input. So identify an unexpected or invalid input that a user could provide to your program. Describe the behavior of your program after it receives this input. If it is not possible for your program to accept an unexpected or invalid input, explain why this is the case. So looking at the input here, and this program interface is all buttons. There's not a wrong way to do the buttons. This more relates to invalid if you had to enter text and maybe it was capital or it had a space. Could your code handle it? So just after it receives this input, there isn't an invalid input on this example one. If it is not possible, okay, so it is not possible for my program to accept an invalid input. Explain why this is the case. Because my inputs are buttons. There is not an opportunity for a user to enter invalid information with buttons. And there we go. So this is where I basically just restated the question. And then this is my explanation why. Now I want to point out that for this one in particular, there's not an invalid input because it's buttons. If yours was an input box and there was invalid inputs, like you need to have the exact NFL team name or the exact serial name or it doesn't work, then you write that here. You write that it is possible. An invalid input would be if they entered all in caps. My program would report that that is not an error, or it would say invalid entry and make you type it again, or the code would break. You would get full credit for that answer, saying that your code would break if it received an invalid input of. This is you showing you understand your code, not that it is, you know, the flawless code that has no problems. No, if it can have a problem if something is entered, that's what you say. You reveal it here and you would get full credit. So this is our review of question 1 and ways to answer it, where I've highlighted kind of the sentence starters, or you really want to make it clear to the user, the grader of this, that you are answering exactly what is asked.